I'm Sharon Chang, and today on Biztech Conversations, we have with us Margaret Heng, Executive Director of the Singapore Hotel Association. She is also the Chief Executive of Shatec, the acronym for Singapore Hotel and Tourism Education Centre. Welcome to the show, Margaret.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon, for having me on the show. Yeah.
COVID has ravaged the hotel industry worldwide. And of course, Singapore has not been spared the pain, right? As the country depends a lot on foreign tourism. So Margaret, could you actually share with us briefly the overview of the Singapore Hotel Association and what is its objectives?
The Singapore Hotel Association is the collective voice of hotels in Singapore. And our membership is made up of hotel entities which are represented by proprietors or hotels or appointed representatives. Our current membership comprises some 100 hotels, which accounts for some 85% of total gazetted room count in Singapore. Yep.
The Singapore government actually provided around 90 million Singapore dollars for tourism recovery to help the sector rebound. Is it enough? And what other measures actually have been undertaken?
I guess it's never enough in anything, but I think more important is that we are able to generate revenue at some point in time. So since the outbreak in late January this year, Shaw has actually represented the industry at various government dialogues and actually task force to protect the tourism sector. And we are really thankful for all the financial relief and measures to keep our hotels afloat and safeguard the hotel workforce. Apart from the financial assistance, we also must recognize that the government's strategic efforts, so besides the financial part, in ensuring the long-term success of Singapore's tourism industry. So I want to share some of these initiatives, which include, we actually formed a task force called Emerging Stronger Task Force, and Shah, together with the Chief Executive of CAG, my President Shah, co-chair a Travel Alliance Action for AFA. So the overall objective of this alliance is actually to come up with a new initiative, pilot initiative, to help us to overcome some of these COVID challenges. So it's been an interesting journey for this committee. And then we also are part of a tourism recovery action committee that's chaired by STB. So that this particular committee has got various private stakeholders, private sector stakeholders, plus government stakeholders coming together to share ideas to see how we can actually rejuvenate the industry and help the industry per se. And of course, through our dialogues, we have been able to also saw some gradual resumption of domestic tourism. I mean, we are small, but there is still some domestic kind of tourism that we can have. I think the staycations, as you can see, that's happening now, is helping. Yeah. So maybe I will take that a little bit. I'll just add on to two more items, which is the other initiatives. The other one is we are going to try to pilot the event called Travel Revive. It's basically a trade show with exhibition and conference that is especially to pilot certain measures that we can do for MICE events or for exhibitions. And this is to help us to gradually open the borders, reopen borders, so how we can do it correctly. So this one is going to take place in November, on November 25th, 26th. So we are actually quite heartened that there's quite good pick-up for this particular show, international plus local. And of course, if you may have heard, we have established a travel bubble with Hong Kong.
Yes.
So that one will take off on the 22nd of November. So we really don't know what it's going to be like, but any small measures help towards bringing life back into the tourism sector all over the world, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now, can you share with us how the hotels are actually doing and how is the occupancy rate like?
I would say that, as you know, hotels in Singapore rely on, our revenue comes from 90% from international tourism.
Yes.
So which means that the way it is with the borders closed, it's really like very bad. But of course, we are quite fortunate to a certain extent, like most other countries, we have certain hotels that are commissioned by the government to help out in the COVID situation. Yeah, so that kind of help. And because of that, of course, the industry has a occupancy that's about 50-60%. But of course, the room rate is much to be desired. But what can we do? At least we have some business better than no business in that sense. And because of all this situation, of course, the hotels are able to do about staycations, workations. These are different ways in which they're also generating revenue. And then but the shortfall is definitely significant. From our heydays of 80s, 90% occupancy and room rates of more than $200 250 Singapore dollars, I think this is really something that is tough for the industry. Yeah, but
So,
like I said, this
oh, sorry.
the silver lining in this whole thing is that hotels are now more, very creative in generating new revenue streams. So what has happened is during this part, hotels realize that, F&B takeaways make sense for them. Last time, there are very few, you do takeaways, you don't go to hotel F&B outlets to go takeaways. But since this situation, a lot of hotels are finding that, there's an additional revenue stream for the F&B outlets, which is the other takeaways. And then also wellness packages, daycation, you're working from home, instead of working from home, why don't you either work a workation or daycation, spend a time in the hotel itself, or just laze around and do nothing, just sit and eat and relax by the pool. So that's a daycation for you. Yeah. And of course, the hotel also started doing retailing of their hotel brands. So some hotels have products that are quite desirable by the public. So they are also marketing some of these hotel branded products. Yeah, for the public. Yeah. So all these are additional way of making revenue.
So these are some of the ways the hotel operators are actually reorganizing their structure, right? Because the pandemic has actually decimated hotel revenues. Right? So, what has actually worked before might not work now. So can you also share with us, Margaret, what were the changes made to reimagine guest experiences?
So what I just mentioned earlier on, the hotels that actually work with partners to actually come out with all these trips. Like you stay in a hotel, like a staycation, you can actually go to another bundle deals. They go bundling, so they go to tours. That means you can take a tour. Like for example, MNC Hotel, one of the group, you stay in a hotel, you can go to attraction. You can go to visit the zoo and things like that. So it's part of a bundle deal in that sense. So at the same time, the hotels are doing things like retail signature items, like I mentioned earlier on, F&B takeaways, or even dining in your home. So hotels are actually prepared to pack everything nicely. You can order a beautiful set meal from one of their branded restaurants, and then they go to the home and set it up for you, and then they leave.
How successful is it?
I think there are take-up rate. In fact, some of the F&B are finding the surprise that there are actually quite a number of people are, opting for that, because I think some people still prefer to be safe, stay at home, dine in. Yeah, but although I think the F&B scene is getting a little hotter now, a little better. Yeah, right. So, yeah, and then since the early days, Shah has provided constant communications to our members so that everyone is kept informed and updated on this evolving situation, and so that wherever they do, they are able to come up with offerings that go in line with the guidelines as well. That's very important, so that they can make sure that the health and safety of the guests are being taken care of, employees and business partners know about it. And of course, for hotels, we have to make sure that there's the SG certification, clean certification. I think probably different countries have their own brand of certification. So Singapore, we call it SG Clean. We also have safe entry for contact tracing. We have got rigorous temperature screening, contactless guest experiences, and also, of course, increasing use of robotics, artificial intelligence, space planning, capacity in restaurants. And now, you can have, right now it's 5 per table. So how do you actually optimize that 5? And then 1 meter spacing apart. Spas, gyms, and pools, you are limited by your capacity is limited because of the size of the place. You have to observe all those guidelines. And then the traffic flow, we got to make sure that the guest movements, for safety reasons, we have to separate them in that sense. And of course, more important is that the hotels also use this period to upskill and job redesign for the employees. So all these are restructuring to a certain extent, changes that have to be made at the workplace in terms of operations as well. With all these measures, so as an association, we have been keeping them updated on the guidelines and processes that they need to observe and follow.
Okay, so I would presume digitization matters more now than ever, right?
Yes, in a way, yeah, you would say that. Yeah. So in fact, the digital journey we started already, and this kind of like hastened it a lot more, make it even faster, right? Yeah, because we've really been working with hotels quite a fair bit to improve productivity, automation, digital platforms, and so forth. And really now it's like fast forward by a lot much faster. Correct.
Of course. And how are the hotel operators adapting to this?
I think most of them have actually come on board. I mean, although this is not the best of time to spend money, but because of the expectation of the guests, so a lot of them are actually coming on board to actually say that, yeah, we need to go digital. They are going on platforms. They're using, for example, now you go to most of the restaurants, it's QR code. It's no longer a hard menu for you. Yeah, and then even payment is they're encouraging more cashless payment versus cash per se, you know, and of course, like we are also quite fortunate in the sense there's also quite good funding for the hotel to encourage the hotels to also start on this digital journey much faster.
Yeah. Previously, Singapore relies a lot on foreign talent in the hospitality industry, but now with the availability of a pool of local talents from the aviation industry, so what measures and strategies have been actually taken to take advantage of this new pool of talent?
So we have been working with the various authorities and the unions as well. I mean, we're quite fortunate that the relationship, the partnership that we have with the unions and the government are good. We usually do what I call a tripartite approach on how we can transfer the skilled employees within the service sector itself. So what we do is that there is an umbrella association called Singapore Business Federation, where we work closely with them under the SG United Jobs Initiative. So basically, this is an initiative that's got both public sector as well as private sector coming together to assist affected workers by the COVID-19 situation to match them to short-term jobs. So as a result of the hotel industry, you know, the occupancy down and so forth, you may have some excess manpower. What do you do with them, right? So we help to kind of redeploy them to another sector that's doing well on a short-term contract so that they will still come back to the hotel at the end of the day. It's so hard to get workers, so you also don't want to release them. So we have that situation. And then, of course, there will be some, we help them to secure alternative permanent kind of positions, placements, especially for those affected by, what we call job right sizing in a sense, okay? And we also facilitate the job matching for excess manpower, like I mentioned earlier on. So we try to keep them within the industry as much as we can. Because we don't really want to lose them. If we lose them to someone in the same industry, it's not too bad. But losing them to another industry is a little bit painful in a sense. It feels so hard to, to get.
True.
So that's what we've been doing together as a tripartite approach.
I see. Okay, Margaret, you as the CEO of Shatec, how are you actually evolving Shatec?
Okay, when the situation came about, we also realized that we can't have physical classroom situation. So overnight, actually, my team put together and transformed we call going online. So because we realized that is really important, and I must take my hat off to my team. They did it in a very good, fast way and very, very efficient. And I think that the industry welcomed it very much because it was also very helpful because as one of the appointed training provider by the government so that there's enhanced what we call absentee payroll. We were able to roll out a whole slew of programs for the industry almost overnight. And the hotel started sending the team members to upskill with us and so forth. And it was really a good experience for the workforce as well as for the team here. And although talking about the model like automation and so forth, so although the foundation of hospitality remains unchanged, Shatec as a school will be introducing changes to the learning content as a result of the pandemic. Because now we got to put in more elements of digitalization. We must also put in more things like how do you do the safe management measures. So I think whatever we teach, we must also embed some of the safe management measures into the curriculum. So in the case of one example is menu planning and pricing. We will teach our students to look at how business operators are adopting to new business models with supply chains affected by the pandemic, for example. How do you reach out to, how do you help suppliers to reorientate themselves to these new markets? So that one is something that we're doing. And then housekeeping operations, robots are now being used to clean the place, public areas. So we need to make sure that our students are well versed in operating robots. So we work with SoftBank to use their Whisk robot. So
how well do they function actually?
They are not too bad,
Compared to human beings actually.
I think for general cleaning, I think it's okay. brought, so that's why public area cleaning for the rooms, in certain corners, you still probably need to be more human, unless you can come up with something that's very, very fine, you can go into the corners and so forth. Yeah, but then that again is, but still good help, better than no help. So in that
yeah,
sense,
but that will actually replace human labor force, right?
I don't think so, because first and foremost, housekeeping has always been an area that's very short on manpower. And if you're able to release some of the housekeeping staff to do other aspects of housekeeping that cannot be taken done by automation, it will help, because, and then what we do is we teach them how to actually operate the machine instead, because someone still needs to operate it, someone still needs to make sure that it doesn't get the wrong, or something that happened to the machine, etc. So someone still got to maintain the machine to an extent. So a different kind of job scope, added job scope per se, that's different. Yeah. And then, of course, like I mentioned earlier on, given that health and safety considerations are paramount in guest services now, our students are also learning the need to change in the way they interact with people, with guests, under safe management measures. And of course, more important is that without compromising the quality of service standards. And there's also increased focus on, like I mentioned, digitalization, automation, empowering contactless guest services. I think that's the most important thing, is because increasingly a lot of hotels are going to contactless services. How do you actually give the soft touch to these contactless services? And that's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you sorry, Margaret, but when you just as a guest, you want personal interaction, personal service. So when it comes to contactless services, I mean, how would guests actually perceive that?
Yeah, I think today it's not just one point of contact per se. It's actually from the guest journey, the customer journey starts the very moment they actually book or click onto your hotel website to book a room, in that sense. So how do you ensure that contactless part there, that journey, that contactless part is actually smooth experience? That means your website the user experience must be good, the booking must be easy to be made. Do you respond quickly to the guest with a confirmation note? Do you sort of follow up with a welcoming note? Do they welcome we're looking forward to your stay, and then maybe a few days before that, can you generate something like a welcome note? Or to say, okay, before you come, please make sure that that you have taken for example, now you take a test, right? Just check that you have done this. So it shows that you care for your customer, you're reminding them certain things. So it can still be done in that way. So it's a whole journey that we're looking at. It can be contactless initially, but of course, when the guests arrive, it will still be there. You'll be there to welcome the guests, to actually ensure that the guests, still be able to say, oh, this is fantastic, And then checking out, can we check out without them physically being at the hotel there, at the guest, at the front desk? Can be done nowadays. So how do you ensure that checkout process is also seamless and smooth in that sense?
So Margaret, so do you think actually the concept of hospitality previously would apply post-COVID?
Sorry, you come again? You said you think
the concept of hospitality will change, obviously, right? So post-COVID, do you think the previous concept of hospitality concept will come back, or you see a change of concept post-COVID?
I don't think the concept of hospitality will change post-COVID. And the concept of hospitality, excellence, and delivery of genuine care for travelers will not change, that's for sure. Our ultimate purpose of being in the hotel industry will remain, but the way we achieve it will, to some extent, may change. So it's not so much about, but we'll always be there to offer that warm hospitality, but how we achieve it may change in that sense.
Okay. Margaret, moving forward, what are hotel operators doing to help themselves?
Basically, they have to understand what their guests need and what is best for their well-being, and we will define how the hotels will operate in the future. And a lot of the hotels are going very much into direction now, given the constantly evolving situation, not only for COVID-19, but other crises as well. We must always remain nimble and responsive to changes. And the most important thing is to learn from our past experiences and apply the knowledge in ways that will answer the guest expectations. I think that's something that's very critical for the industry.
And Earlier, you mentioned to revitalize the tourism industry, an agreement has actually been announced to allow quarantine-free leisure travel between Hong Kong and Singapore, which will resume on the 22nd of November, right? So what extent do you think this will improve the tourism industry?
I think it will definitely help. I think every small measure counts in that sense. Although today, I mean, when we first started, we're starting in baby steps. And if really every day we see 200 coming, maybe and nothing happens along the way, then that 200 will become 2,000. The 2,000 will become 20,000. Yeah. So I think we are hopeful. I think it is a good start. And I think, in fact, I think the whole world is watching us right now to see how successful this bubble can be. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. We hope that it will, like what I say, 200 to 2,000, 2,000 to 20,000, and you know, sooner than later. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Margaret, for coming on the show. We have been speaking to Margaret Heng, Executive Director of Singapore Hotel Association, and also the Chief Executive of Shatec. For more business and technology conversations, check out www.biztech.asia.